thanks for coming out. I think it's hard to get people to come out for this kind of thing, so I really appreciate your time. I'm going to talk to you for supposedly 10 minutes. The first time I was ever invited to speak, I spoke for 2 hours and 45 minutes without a break. So let me know when the time is near, because there's no timer here. I do want to thank Packer for organizing this. We want you to think of sleep as the cornerstone of health, with nutrition and exercise as other parts of that foundation. So you actually did it all tonight, so thank you for doing that. And I did pick up a lot of tips from my peers here, and think about how to be a better advocate and how to help these kids out. So let's talk about sleep. I work with adults and I work with children. I work with both of them. But mostly I think I work with families, because if one person doesn't sleep well, it impacts the entire family, right? Well, one thing you'll see is those of you who have regular bed partners, you get one insomniac per couple. Never have two insomniacs in any couple you'll meet, only one insomniac. You'll see this over the years. There's certain patterns that emerge with sleep. But let's talk about sleeping kids, right? Because the bottom line is why bother sleeping in the first place, right? Being a parent is the most rewarding thing you probably have ever done, but it's also the most impractical thing you've ever done. There's nothing practical about being a parent, right? And the only break you get not to be a parent is when your child is sleeping, right? There's pressure to have this child sleep. The closest thing you ever get back to your old life before you're a parent is when your child is sleeping. And what is the definition of a well-behaved child? A well-behaved child is simply a child that does not bother the parents, right? That's all it is. That's all it is, right? If the kid is making pipe bombs in their bedroom, as long as they don't bother you, it's fine, right? So I want you to think about what's sleeping for and what is the purpose of sleeping, right? Because it's amazing if you talk to kids, what is sleeping all about? I saw a 3-year-old, and I'll never forget this kid, because he looked me in the eye, his mother brought him to me, and he said, "Doctor, sleeping makes me tired." And that really struck me, because, you know, when you talk to kids, they get very clean histories. Dr. Weintraub's correct, they're the experts. They get very clean histories. This 3-year-old told me, "Sleeping makes me tired." And the mother said, "I don't know what's wrong. He sleeps more than the other kids. He takes naps longer than the other kids, but he's tired." Very simple, he had sleep apnea. His tonsils were big and he couldn't breathe well. The more he slept, the worse he felt. But why do we tell kids that they have to sleep? Ask any of your kids, why do we sleep for? To recharge your batteries, to get more energy, right? But this kid, the more he slept, the worse he felt. And a lot of times parents will ask me, how many hours does my child need? They always talk about the hours, the quantity of sleep. They want me to tell them to put that kid to sleep for 12 hours. That's what they want to hear. But that's not really what it's about. It's not the quality, it's not the quantity, it's the quality. Does your child wake up feeling refreshed? Do you wake up feeling refreshed? That's the real issue. You should wake up feeling refreshed. You should feel good in the morning when you wake up. If you wake up feeling tired, something is wrong. If you leave a buffet feeling hungry, something is wrong, right? You should not leave dinner feeling hungry. You should not wake up feeling tired. You should wake up feeling refreshed. So I want you to think a little bit with your children about what sleep is for, and talking about the value of sleeping. Sleeping is something you should look forward to doing. Not something that you have to do, but something that you get to do. And in the back-to-school concept, and especially with adolescents, if there are adolescents in your lives, a lot of those kids don't sleep well. Our best sleepers across society are 9-year-olds. It's a cliche, it's a misconception to talk about sleeping like a baby. When people say, "I slept well, I slept like a baby," babies don't sleep that well. Okay? Do you really want to be incontinent and be fed throughout the night? No. Babies don't sleep that well at all. Our best sleepers are 8- and 9-year-old people. Okay, you've all, except for any 9-year-olds here tonight, we've all passed our peak time for getting our best sleep of our lives. Now we can try to get you sleeping like an 8- or 9-year-old, but I want you to talk to your kids to think about sleep. Because ultimately, sleeping is for the brain, and the better you sleep, the better your brain will be able to learn and to think. Dr. Weintraub mentioned the issue with televisions. The data is that kids with TVs in the bedroom also sleep less hours. Sleep about an hour or less. Think about how you sleep and how a 9-year-old sleeps. Okay? Ideally, you should fall asleep easily, sleep through the night, wake up refreshed, have plenty of energy, and not need to take any medication for your sleep. Typical 9-year-old person comes home from school, maybe has a snack perhaps, has to start their homework. By the time they finish homework and have dinner, it's too late to go outside. They spend some time with their family. When you're 8 or 9 years old, you have a set bedtime. You can stay up late if they let you, but your parents don't. right? You have a set bedtime. 8 or 9-year-old goes to their room. Parents stop by the room, say, good night, I love you, turn off the lights. When you're 8 or 9 years old, your parents are going to wake you up in time to go to school. Clothes are laid out for you. Somebody's going to give you breakfast. Somebody's going to check the homework before you leave the house. Safety of the house is taken care of for you, right? Everything is all taken care of for you. 8 and 9-year-old people obviously go to bed ideally feeling safe, comfortable, and loved. They have serenity in their lives. If I ever see a 9-year-old who's having trouble sleeping, and I saw one just before coming here, typical 9-year-old who gets trouble sleeping is usually because they're scared of the dark. And it's not really scared of the dark, it's fear of being alone. Right? But usually 8 or 9-year-old people fall asleep well, have serenity in their lives. Now things change. Think about adolescence, right? The first thing that teenagers will remember, or maybe our tweens, or 11 and 12-year-olds, is having different bedtimes, weekends compared to weekdays. That's the first thing to watch for. The first evidence of having bad sleep habits is this need to sleep in on weekends. That makes no medical sense. It doesn't make any physiological sense. If we're supposed to sleep and be so pretty much set up to a rhythm with the daylight cycle, why should we have these 3 or 4 hour shifts, weekends compared to weekdays? You cannot catch up your sleep on a weekend, the sleep you're missing over a weekday. It's easy to prove. If you normally sleep 8 hours a night, let's say you're an 8-hour sleeper, and you skip sleep one day and get 0 sleep one night, will you sleep 16 the next day? No, you won't do that. You might sleep 10 hours, 9 hours. It takes about 3 to 5 days to make up one night of no sleep. You can never catch up the sleep that you're missing over 5 days in a 2-day period of time. You're always going to be a little sleep deprived. So sleeping in is your first evidence of somebody having trouble sleeping. And with your teenagers, I want you to think a little bit about this. When did it become okay for them to be awake while we're sleeping? You never hear of a 7-year-old staying awake past their parents. But if I give a lecture at a high school, junior high school, and I ask the children, how many of you fall asleep after your parents, more than half those hands will go up. Right? A lot of times the parents will say, listen, you gotta go to sleep, do your own thing, I'm gonna go to bed myself. I can't keep up with you. Right? If you're 15 years old and you want autonomy in your life, you're living with your parents, the only time you ever have autonomy when you're 15 is if you can stay awake past your parents. Right? They're both social and cultural reasons, and they're also physiological reasons. Teenagers are biologically more prone to stay awake late at night. In a more primitive past, you would imagine who's supposed to watch the fire if not the teenagers and the clan, right? They're biologically wired to stay up later at night, but also it turns out that physical growth occurs in our sleep. When are you going to make your bones longer? When you're not using them. The lengthening of our bones occurs in sleep, in the first third of the night predominantly. So adolescents go through this period of time where biologically they need more sleep, but they also have a tendency to stay up late at night. They have more homework, more social demands of their time, and the kicker, high school starts earlier than junior high school. You have a perfect storm. Half of teenagers fall asleep in the classroom at least once a week. When that survey was done, it came out on CNN, the National Sleep Foundation said that 25% of teenagers fall asleep at least one time per week. People shrugged it off. But if I told you instead that 25% of first graders fell asleep in the classroom, what would that mean? There'd be an uproar. How can my kid be falling asleep in the classroom? The teacher's boring. There's a problem, right? We complain if our children fell asleep in elementary school in class, yet we pass it off that a fourth of the kids are falling asleep in the classroom in high school. Why is that okay? We're starting to think of the kids differently, right? And we know that if you don't get enough sleep, you don't do as well. Statistically, the kids who have more hours of sleep have better grades. That's also been measured. The National Sleep Foundation is a good resource for you. When you talk to parents, or you talk to school boards, the National Sleep Foundation has data that you can use to show you that getting more sleep will help improve their grades. When you talk to kids, when I talk to teenagers, when I go to some of the private high schools in our community, if I talk about sleep, they view it as an edge that they can get, just like they do in sports. If they can get more sleep, they have an edge over the other kids.